What's going on, guys? It is currently 5:46 in the morning, and so far everything's looking good. I'm just gonna look on my phone here and check out, see what the futures are doing. Futures are up 308 on the Dow, so we're looking pretty good. And we'll scroll on over to what I use. That is Yahoo Finance. And Microsoft, I have two calls on it still. It's up $3 pre-market. I'm just walking back from getting the mail at work, and first day of the $3,000 challenge. We got a pop on the market just like I expected, and I sold my calls. I had 3 calls. Some on Apple, some on Microsoft. I sold for $1,000 profit. So we're already up 33%. It's about a $2,000 trade. We returned $1,000 for a 50% gain. So we've jumped from 3,000 to 4,000. So looking good so far. And pretty much all for my cell phone while I'm at work. What's going on, guys? So I'm currently back at my house. I just got done playing some Call of Duty, if you can't see the screen behind me. But I basically just want to go over kind of the process that I use when I go to research stocks. And I don't necessarily just look for calls or just for puts based on the futures, because a lot of people go, okay, the futures are down 200 points, so I'm only going to focus on shorting, or I'm only going to focus on puts, or vice versa. Market's up 500 points, they only want to buy calls. Market could go either direction. I've seen the market, especially right now with the coronavirus, be down 1,000 points and then close positive, or vice versa. So I'm always prepared for both. I have a list of calls that I'm looking at and a list of puts I'm looking at. So basically just go through my watch list, make a list of both, and then I move over to Yahoo Finance. I make sure nothing's reporting earnings, and then I kind of just keep narrowing things down until I have a handful. Sometimes I'll end up with 1 stock, sometimes I end up with 10, sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I don't really see anything that I like. So basically I'm going to start that whole process of the basics of like what I do for my research. So you'll probably see me use my phone quite a bit, if you haven't already noticed. Right now it's easy because like I make everything so it's a shortcut. I don't have to go and type something into Google to find it. I just click on the app, I go right here, and I can see the futures are down 100 points on the Dow, and down 15 on the S&P, down 30 on the NASDAQ. At this current time, it's 8 o'clock here, and right now we're looking at the Asian markets, and they have not quite opened yet. But like I said the other day, Asian markets could be a good indicator what the U.S. markets are going to do, since the time frames or the time zones are different, and the Asian market doesn't open for another few hours, so it opens late at night. Also, we have this headline news right here: Trump halts U.S. funding for World Health Organization as it conducts coronavirus review. So that could be bad news. I've got a good feeling the market's going to sell off a little bit tomorrow due to the fact that we've had a lot of green days. Stocks are kind of getting a little bit overbought, so I'm kind of be focusing more on puts, and I actually bought one speculative put in my large account, just so I can maybe try to build a put position in the morning in the larger account. But other than that, I'm currently not holding any trades. Guys, so I started going through my watch list, and that way you didn't have to see the entire process of me just clicking forever, going through stocks. But I picked out a handful of stock. I have not yet done any more research other than picking out a handful of stocks for calls and puts just based on the graph. So I'm going to dig into that. I'm going to show you those stocks and then kind of show you the next process that I go through. But first, I am going to check the futures because we have to stay on top of that. And I've been recording this video and I had to stop to go through my stock list. It's probably been about 20 minutes, and the last part of the first beginning of this video, the Dow was down 100 points. Now it's down 134. So it just shows you how quickly things can change, and it's going down further. So make you more and more comfortable to lean toward the put side. So you have to stay on top of it. I'm constantly watching the futures market. But besides that, anyways, let's get into it. So here we have my big screen chart that I use to trade on. And I picked out a handful of stocks. I'm going to show you some of them and why I showed you some of them. But I want to show you something really quick, and it's basically my bread and butter trade. And this stock that I'm about to show you was actually on my watch list, and I realized today I missed out on it. And that is COST. I was actually super bullish on this stock a couple of days ago for this reason. I love trading pullbacks. I love pullbacks because they can really accelerate and rocket on an up day like today when the market's up 500 points. So this is Costco, and I was bullish just a couple days ago right here on this big pullback to these moving averages right here. So you're still bullish with the moving averages, your fast moving averages over top of your slower moving averages, and you have this big pullback, a little bit of consolidation with these two candles, and it bounced off this pullback with huge volume and went from the open at 302, we'll say 303, all the way up to 314.75 for a $15.13 gain today. Man, those are the kind of trades that I look for. I love those kind of trades. But so just kind of give you an idea of one pattern that I really like to trade. So let's get back to what I was initially doing. I've got a handful of stocks here. I'm looking at CRI for some calls. We'll jump over to CRI. It's probably going to be a long video because I'm literally doing the research as I'm telling you. And if you look at this chart right here, you can immediately see why I like it. This pullback to moving averages and decent volume. This volume's starting to want to load up. Our RSI's headed up. I really like this pullback. If the market is down tomorrow and it pulls back a little bit, say it pulls back to its open of today, if it pulls back $2 tomorrow, I'm in on this trade, even if the market's down, and I'll look to make money on it the next couple of days as it comes back up off these moving averages. But before I decide that I want to trade this stock, if I'm trading options, I have to make sure there's options available. And right here, I already don't like this because you only have monthly options and no weekly options. But if the open interest is high enough, then I'll consider it. We're going to look at the May 15th. So if you go to May 15th and you look, there's 13 open interest here on the calls. And no, not really anything on the put side either. So immediately, this stock is out of the picture for me. I have no open interest for options. Regardless of how good the stock pattern looks, I have to cross it off my list. Back to it. Sorry, my camera froze up on me, so I had to exit out and get back in. Anyways, so CRI is out of the picture because there's no open interest. Regardless of what the stock pattern looks like, we're out of that. It's off the list. So we're going to go to Apple. Of course, I love trading Apple. It's up $13 a share today at the top of this channel, and it didn't quite close really outside of it. I mean, you could say it closed outside of it, but it's never perfect. So I'm looking for a huge pullback tomorrow if the market's way down. So I'm looking at puts on it, and if it goes up and closes outside, then we have to come back and reevaluate Apple. But I don't even have to look at it. We already know that Apple is going to have a lot of open interest, and they have weekly options. So you can see here at the monies, 3,500 open interest on the calls, and that's another thing that I look at. If you're kind of on the fence a little bit, you can see open interest on puts is greater than the open interest on calls at the money, and that's super important. If they're close, don't worry about it too much, but say you had 10,000 puts and you only had 3,000 calls, that people are, bearish on the stock. So I'm going to keep on moving along. I'm going to go to Boeing. Why did I pick Boeing? Bad news came out on Boeing. The market was up 500 points today, and Boeing dropped $3 a share. So I'm looking for a continuation down on this stock. You can see heavy selling and volume over here. Stock's downtrending. Moving averages, if it could break below the moving averages, and it could break maybe down to the 122 range, 120 range, 125 range. If it really breaks down tomorrow, I'm really looking at this to buy some puts on it. And we have plenty of open interest. The problem though is these are very expensive and there's like a huge spread. So most likely Boeing's out just for that reason. I don't like trading spreads that are really outside of 20 cents. If you have a dollar spread, and even if you get in between the spread, you immediately start 50 cents negative on the trade. So if say you bought 10 contracts, you're automatically down 50 cents per contract. You got a lot of ground to make up as soon as you enter the trade. So this is probably out of the picture. And back to my list, we're going to CAG, Conagra. I have this written down for puts. We have, we're hitting a high right here, and I'm looking for a pullback on that high if the market's down tomorrow, especially because it was up, a decent amount for, a $33 stock. It's up 4%, but it has no volume supporting this price. It's way above your moving averages, and you're hitting resistance here. So you could look for a smaller trade on this. If there's not a whole lot going on tomorrow or I can't find anything else, I'm looking for some puts on this. Next one is Square. I have this down for calls. People have to use Square, PayPal, stuff like that, especially now because nobody's working. People are doing a lot of home delivery and business electronically. So, PayPal, Square, stuff like that, that's definitely booming right now, even though we're in this pandemic. But I'm looking at the calls. If it closes above this huge resistance right here, it's got the volume to support it. But if we can close outside this resistance, maybe I'm looking on some calls on it, or a pullback way back to these moving averages. But it's kind of a speculative trade. It's not one of my favorites on the list, but I did throw it in there. We definitely have, I see here, you have 7,600 right here just below at the monies on the calls, and you only have 500 open interest on the puts. So that is a very bullish signal as far as options are concerned. That's a good sign. So we'll leave that on the list for now. I'm going to kind of speed through these next ones so I don't drag this out too long. Grubhub. Immediately, what do you see? This huge pullback and then a bounce. So I'm looking for a continuation here on some calls. It's kind of bouncing in between here where this gap, but we did break this gap. So this gap is new support. So it's hard to say on this one, just because it kind of seems like it closed below the support line. But I know it's kind of right on the line, but we'll have to assess that one in the morning and see what the futures are like. Caterpillar. Huge pullback to major support right here. So I'm really liking Caterpillar. If we can get a little bit of consolidation or sideways action for the next couple of days, it may not be a trade until next week, but it will be on my watch list for the next couple of days for that reason. These are my bread and butter trades right here. I love these big pullbacks. Those have got a little bit of a small list going, so what I do is I go to Yahoo Finance, which I already have it loaded up here, and it's earnings season. We need to make sure these stocks aren't reporting earnings so we don't get burnt if we enter a trade on one of these. Apple. Earnings April 29th. It is April 14th, so we're in the clear as far as that goes for a short-term trade. But as far as earnings go, we're good on that. Boeing, April 24th, so we're only like 10 days out from earnings on that, so that could be a no-go for that possibly. But just want to give you an example of what I'm doing and how I go with the process. I'll do more of this on my own, but I don't want to drag this video out too long. Square, not reporting earnings till May, so we're good on that. Grubhub. There we go. May 6th. So, you know, we're about almost 20 days out from that. So we're good for a short-term trade on that. Caterpillar. April 28th. So we're good for a short-term trade. And after that, I go through Yahoo Finance. You can scroll down through here and you can see all the news yesterday. Sell Caterpillar stock because this time is different. Analyst says that's super important. You need to get in and read all this stuff and see what you can find that's positive or negative against the stock. If you find a bunch of negative stuff, you know, that could be an issue. You may have to scratch that off your list. But I just that's kind of my basic process of how I build a watch list. Obviously, I go way more in depth, but I don't want to drag this video out too long. I'm just going to try to add a little bit of my research in with all my videos and try to repeat some of it in the future. But for the most part, that's it.